Good evening. The family of Ellie Edwards, who was killed in a shooting on Christmas Eve, have paid emotional tribute to her as police continue their search for her killer. A statement written by her father described the 26-year-old as a beautiful and bright star who had amazing plans for her future. Her family are also pleading for more people to come forward with information after Merseyside police released 2 suspects. Kelly Foran reports.
My beautiful Ellie Marlene is the love of my life, and she is my world, my best friend. She will always shine and be beautiful and bright. My Ellie has never gone.
Ellie's father was too upset to read his own tribute to his daughter today. The police spoke on his behalf.
Christmas and our family will never be the same again without her. She was the glue that held this big family together.
A family that have spent this week doing the unimaginable, laying flowers where Ellie was killed. Police don't believe she was the intended target. This is the moment that one person was arrested. Officers have called those involved cowards and are urging the public not to protect them. 2 people have now been released from police custody. The murder suspect has been recalled back to prison on licence. A woman has been bailed and another man is still being questioned by the police, who say they are doing all they can.
These people don't deserve to be walking our streets. They don't deserve to be protected. They belong in prison. Guns have no place on the streets of Merseyside.
Officers say they want to know where a dark Mercedes seen in the pub car park that night has since gone.
Silence is never an option. We need people to take a stand against criminals. We need you to speak to us so that we can take action.
Thank you.
There are still lots of unanswered questions. The police and Ellie's family hope someone out there can give them some answers. Kelly Foran, ITV News.
A developing story this evening now, and the government is expected to require negative pre-departure COVID tests for all travellers from China as concerns about the virus grow. Well, our political correspondent Harry Horton joins us now. This just coming through in the last hour or so. What can you tell us, Harry?
Well, the UK is joining a growing number of countries requiring these pre-departure tests from China. These measures have already been announced in Spain, in Italy, in the US, India and Japan, amongst other countries. And this is all because earlier this month, Beijing lifted almost all of its remaining pandemic restrictions. We've seen a huge surge in cases in China and concerns about the spread of new COVID variants. Now, all this week, the government has been under growing pressure from some backbench Conservative MPs to not react too slowly to this. There's been discussions in government today. It appears as though the government is concerned about China's vaccine. They're concerned about a lack of data from China. That's why they've introduced these measures. A Downing Street source says these measures are precautionary and temporary. The aim, they say, is to stand with allies and those other countries who put measures in place and to try and put pressure on China to be more transparent about what's going on within China when it comes to COVID.
OK, Harry, thank you very much indeed for that. Tributes have been pouring into the towering figure in fashion dame Vivienne Westwood, the trailblazer who made her name with her controversial punk and new wave designs in the 70s and 80s, died peacefully in London yesterday, aged 81. She was also renowned as a staunch environmental activist. Graham Stothart reflects on her contribution to British fashion and to British life.
She was a household name that shifted, bent, and ultimately broke the rules and boundaries of fashion. Forged in the fires of 70s counterculture, Vivienne Westwood helped bring punk to the mainstream, alongside her ex-partner Malcolm McLaren, building the Sex Pistols into the iconic band they are.
It was a privilege to have rubbed shoulders with her, and I think what her and Malcolm did kind of set me and the other guys in the band into on maybe a firmer footing in life.
Born in Derbyshire in 1941, she went from an upstart fashion designer to a global megastar. She received an OBE in 1992 for services to her industry. To many, she was the queen of British fashion, an inspiration to fellow designers.
She was the initial trailblazer. I mean, certainly when you think about British fashion, I mean, it's the first on the list, Vivienne Westwood. The construction of her clothes were far more intricate and like surgery, corsets were made and folds on fichus around necklines, and the way the dresses kind of kissed the torso and the body. But yeah, it's a sad day. Very sad day.
Every single look that she came out with has become something that you remember, whether it's Naomi Campbell falling on the catwalk with the high shoes, or the whole punk look of the safety pins and the very, very strong street look. It caught on like wildfire and meant that she was like the queen of all of that.
She also campaigned passionately on causes she cared for, believing everyone had a role to play in creating a better future.
Whatever you do that's positive is becoming part of the spirit of the whole cosmos. That's how I like to think of it.
It's a philosophy she and her work encapsulate well. Hers is a legacy that will stretch through generations.
Dame Vivienne Westwood, who died yesterday. Police have been given more time to question two men who've been arrested on suspicion of murdering Cody Fisher. The 23-year-old was stabbed to death on Boxing Day at the Crane nightclub in Birmingham. The club has had its licence suspended while the council reviews whether it should be permanently closed. Former Pope Benedict is stable and was able to rest well last night, according to the Vatican, and he was able to take part in a mass in his room. It comes 2 days after Pope Francis asked for prayers for his 95-year-old predecessor over his deteriorating health. Brazil has begun 3 days of mourning following the death of footballing legend Pelé. The three-time World Cup winner died yesterday, having been in hospital in Sao Paulo since late November. All day, sports stars, friends and leading figures have been paying tribute to him. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola said Pelé's influence on the game would be eternal.
Every player, a top player, wanna wear the number 10 in own team, so what he has done for football is, it's there and always will remain.
Pep Guardiola speaking earlier. And finally, there'll be a few more mouths to feed on the Channel Island of Alderney after a record number of ringed plover chicks fledged in 2022. The small wading birds breed on beaches there. As the last population of plovers left in the Channel Islands, it's hoped the growing numbers spell a positive future for the species there. Looks happy enough, doesn't it? That's it. Our late bulletin is at 10:45. Until then, have a lovely evening from me and all the team here. Goodbye.